Okay, our weekly updates as usual, March 22nd, lots of updates as you can see. This avalanche will never stop. So the first big update is Nvidia conference. NvidiaGTC, which stands for GPU Technology Conference, was this week, and they announced Blackwell B200 chip. And this is this Blackwell chip versus Hopper chip, the previous best. And you see it's bigger, but it's also much faster. And well, you can see, so it has 208 billion transistors, can do 20 petaflops per GPU, can run LLMs with trillion parameters 25 times faster than before. And they created another chip which is by itself like the GPU. It's a new NVLink. It delivers 1.8 terabytes per second for each GPU. So they created this board, it's on this picture, GB200, which combines two B200s and one CPU. And this is Hopper, not Hopper, Grace. Grace Hopper was, well, computer person, right, famous. And NVIDIA created Grace CPU and Hopper GPU. So Grace CPU, and here we have two Blackwell GPUs. And this board is very fast, and what they do, they now build exafloppy performance in just one rack, which is absolutely amazing. And by this, by the way, it is also 25 times less energy consumption. So it's quite amazing. So Blackwell, how you remember Blackwell? There was David Harold Blackwell, who was American statistician, mathematician, UC Berkeley. He worked there for many, many years, very famous person. And yeah, so in his honor, we now have Blackwell chip. Next, about agent workflows. And this is a big, big, big theme right now. So first, somebody joined, please mute. First, look at this graph. So it shows accuracy of, let's say, GPT 3.5, and at zero shot, it has 48% correct. And then we have GPT 4, which is at zero shot, has 67% correct, so it's much better. But then we have all those things. And which are those? And these are multi-agent systems. So if you use GPT 3.5, which by itself has very poor performance, but you wrap it in an agent loop, so you use either multi-agent or multi-step system, suddenly you get 95%. So this is absolutely amazing. So you can build systems which are using reflection, so LLM examines its own work, or another LLM examines your work. Tools like web searching, running code, and so on. Planning, creating plans and then executing them step by step, and multi-agent collaboration. So this is what is really hot area. And on the next slide, we see a lot of systems which are multi-agent systems for software development. Last week I spoke about OpenDevin. It was not open, sorry, regular Devin. Devin from Cognition AI. So this is a startup, and it was hyped a lot. And yeah, it's a great system. It has a great user interface. You can tell it what to do, and it creates software. It can run it, debug it, go to the internet to find the solutions, submit to Git. So yeah, it's amazing. But now people working on OpenDevin, for example. So, and here a list of some other tools which are doing basically the same as Devin, maybe not with such a nice user interface, but you have Crew.ai, which is open source, multi-agent automations. You have MetaGPT, also open source. You have GPT Pilot. Now it's a company called the Pythagora. It's open source, and it's a VS Code extension which you can install. Super AGI, open source. So we spoke about Devin. There is also GitHub Copilot, AutoGen from Microsoft, which was in the fall last year. Okay, this is a data set to test the ability. Okay, the recent thing, Microsoft AutoDev. Okay, Microsoft created a system which is AI driven, which is multi-agent, and it builds software. So you tell it what you want and it just goes and does it. And it's running in a container, and you see it's 91.5% and 87.8% for code and test generation. It's absolutely amazing. This is the original paper. You can read the details. But actually, last April, another project started, which was called AutoGen. And it is open source. It's on GitHub, and it's really good. So, oh, no, sorry. This will be on the next one. No, AutoGen is also from Microsoft. It started in the fall. So AutoGen was more like completion and whatever, helping you. But this is actually autonomous development. OpenDevin just started. The idea is to copy the interface of the Devin from Cognition AI. And there are many other projects. You see how many projects. So yeah, pretty soon you will just tell the computer, write me a program to do this, and it will pretty much do it, because according to this, we went from stupid, which cannot run, create long software, to ones which beat humans in lead code tests, hands down. So next is, yeah, this Microsoft AutoDev. And there was another project, AutoDev. It started in April last year. You can check it on GitHub. It has 1.4 thousand stars, right? And it's basically the same thing, but it's much more mature. So you see here, for example, you have user, it tells the system what to do, and it uses multiple agents, and it can, using different tools, and it can run the program, debug the program, go to the internet, and so on. And here in this old AutoDev, open source AutoDev, you basically see the same things. And yeah, I don't know why Microsoft give the same name. They should use different name or give credit to this open source project. Okay, this is something very elegant. I really love it. So on March 14th, we celebrated 1 year of the first release of GPT-4, which became de facto standard and king of the hill, so like the best model for a long time. And basically it's still unbeaten, or like, well, Claude 3 just equal, let's say. And Jose Gregorio Agremeda did something very elegant. What he did, he wrote a script which he posted on GitHub, and this is the script. So I wanted to show you. So this is, for example, it's as a notebook, and it uses multiple agents inside LangChain. So you see, it's LangChain agents here, right here. And this team of agents creates a blog post. Well, let me see, like he posted on LinkedIn, and it looks, that's how it looks, celebrating GPT-4 first anniversary. And it actually wrote an article to celebrate GPT-4. Like really elegant, using multiple agents, very simple. Um, I really I like Jose, and I like this particular, like, I like everything he does. Anyway, next, X.ai released Grok-1 into open source. So as you know, Elon Musk is suing OpenAI for being not open and closed, because they were supposed to be open and release everything in open source. In the meantime, people said, well, but you yourself, you created Grok on Twitter data, but you haven't released it. So he released it. It was a big release. And Grok-1 is the model. It has 314 billion parameters, so it's big. It has 8,000 tokens context window. It uses 8-bit precision, which usually the models are 16-bit and then they downsize to 8-bit or 4-bit. This is from the very beginning is 8-bit precision. So that means that you can download this file. It will be about 300 something gigabytes, right? The structure is mixture of experts. And by the way, everything is open sourced. The model itself, the weights, the scripts to run it, like everything. It has 8 experts, 2 experts active per token. This is like Mixtral. It has 64 layers, 48 attention heads, 6,000 dimension internal embeddings. It has a strange tokenizer. It's a sentence piece tokenizer with 130,000 tokens. Usually people use tokenizers with about 30,000 tokens. So this one is like has much bigger vocabulary. Activation caching, rotary positioning embeddings. Base model not fine-tuned to any particular task, so it is uncensored. Trained from scratch using custom trained stack on top of JAX. JAX is a library similar to PyTorch, but well, more similar to NumPy. It was created at Google, and also using Rust, and it was trained in October last year. So GitHub contains the torrent magnetic link because the file is huge, right? So, but you can, well, if you have enough disk space, you can download it. But then the question is how you can run it, because you need a multi-GPU setup, very expensive to run it. The model uses 8-bit precision, so it's approximately 300 gigabyte size, and it actually contains 773 files when you download it. Okay, and then what you can do, pip install requirements and then Python run. So they provide this in GitHub and also on Hugging Face. So it's completely open source as they promised. Okay, open source is thriving. 8 billion invested in open source AI over the last 2 years. Actually, Arabic countries now preparing to invest $40 billion. I didn't include it here, but GitHub witnessed 148% year-to-year growth in contributions, 248% year-over-year growth in total number of GenAI projects on GitHub, 400,000 models on Hugging Face. Yeah, amazing. After Llama 2 was released in July, it was explosion of the number of models. Well, next, Apple MM1. It's a family of multimodal LLMs. MM stands for multimodal, I guess. So they work with text, image, video, audio. They're relatively small, up to 30 billion parameters. It's the maximum. And they're actually state of the art in their pre-training metrics, perform competitively after fine-tuning. So these are the links. And yeah, this is good. Apple has its own libraries to run and train models, and more models are done on this platform. Okay, API protected LLMs leak proprietary information. Yeah, it's fun. So it's possible to learn a surprisingly large amount of non-public information about API protected LLM from a relatively small number of API queries. Most modern LLMs suffer from softmax bottleneck, which restricts the model outputs to a linear subspace of the full output space. This unlocks several capabilities. For example, we estimate the embedding size of OpenAI's GPT 3.5 Turbo to be only about 4,000 and number of parameters only about 7 billion. Well, originally, ChatGPT 3.5 or GPT 3.5, it was told that it has 170 billion parameters. But then over the year, more than a year, they were releasing new versions and they were cheaper and cheaper and faster and I don't know, I'm not sure if it is really 7 billion because it's too small, but it's probably really much smaller than it used to be. NeuroPrompts, automatic tuning the prompts. So this was done by multiple researchers, and here is yet another article where they developed this approach. So you start with some prompts and then you tune them to make them optimized. Apple acquired Canada-based company Darwin, which is specialized in creating small, efficient AI systems. So Apple is paranoid about how to say security and about keeping everything on the device. And Darwin specializes in doing exactly that. In creating small efficient systems which you can put on the device so that when you ask a question you don't have to go outside. Rerankers provide a simple API to all popular re-ranking. So this is a GitHub project. So why re-ranking is needed? Initial retrieval in a RAG system is usually done using a vector similarity. It's fast and cheap, but not good quality. So the retrieved docs then, after they retrieved, may be scored for relevancy and sorted based on the scores. And then the top of this list is then fed into LLM. So how you score the found pieces, and there are multiple ways to do it. You can even use custom networks, but it's important part of good RAG system. You have to do it. Agentic RAG. So here are several articles, and with the links, I will not follow the links. But if you want to create a good RAG system, which is retrieval augmented generation, which means that the system answers your questions based on the data which sits in some sort of database, usually vector database, right? And the vanilla RAG doesn't work well, but you can now use multi-agent approach. You can use knowledge graph instead of just a regular database or graph database, and it works better. Okay, more news. Microsoft has hired this guy, Mustafa Suan. So this guy was one of 3 co-founders of a company called Inflection, and they grew to about 4 billion in evaluation, and they created very good product, and it's called Pi. And suddenly he switches to Microsoft, and also another co-founder, Karan Simanyan, follows him, also goes to Microsoft. Remember scandal with OpenAI in November when Sam Altman was fired and Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella suggested that he can go and join Microsoft. Well, this never happened, but they actually created Microsoft AI, and now they invited Mustafa to be head of this division. So this is a big change. I really, in my head, I cannot understand how the founder of the company who takes money from investors, who invites people, builds the company, and then suddenly leaves when the company is just starting to grow and achieved great success. I don't know, but that's what happened. Anyway, Google. So Google made a deal with Samsung, which very popular smartphones, and also with iPhone by integrating Gemini AI into the smartphone itself, not using it just as an app, but deeper in the operating system. This is like Google is cornering the market of smartphones because Samsung and iPhones are 2 most popular phones on the planet. And yeah, this is a very good move by Google. Also, Google Gemini 1.5 Pro is become available via API now, and this is the article which shows how you can get 1.5 Pro API key and start working. It's not available for everybody yet, so you may or may not have access to it, but at least it's happening. Okay, NLX, it's a company, enterprise conversational AI platform. They raised additional money. This is their website, so this is a good system. This is a commercial system. Just wanted to tell about it. RankPrompt, interesting work. It's coming from China, and its step-by-step comparisons make language models better reasoners. Again, multi-agents, step-by-step, self-reflection. These are all the ways people now use to make better systems, right? Okay, next. Open-Sora 1.0. Remember, I think in February, OpenAI released Sora, and Sora is a very powerful model which creates videos up to 60 seconds long, good resolution, amazing, just absolutely amazing. So now people created, but OpenAI is not open, right? So people created the open source project. It's on GitHub, as you can see. And so far, very quickly, they achieved, they can create 2-second video, 500 by 500 pixels. Well, yes, it's not 60 seconds like OpenAI, but this is just the beginning. And usually in the end, open source wins. Meta, Facebook, they have Reality Labs research, and they announced a new thing called SceneScript. And what it is, it's looking around and it creates a model of what it sees and it describes it in words. So very interesting project. This is a blog article. Okay, how to run LLMs locally? Well, I was talking about this multiple times, but here is a short list. Like you can use Alama, you can use LM Studio, TextGen Web AI, which is on GitHub, GPT for All, MLC LLM, which is a huge project using different technologies, allow you to run LLMs on all possible platforms. Private GPT, H2O GPT, and Jan. Well, Jan is kind of buggy. It's on GitHub, it's open source. You see, most of them are, LM Studio is not open source. And I'm not sure about, no, Alama is open source, definitely. Okay, Neuralink. This is amazing. So this is a tweet, and if you go there, you will see this gentleman who is paralyzed. So his body, neck down, is completely paralyzed. But he can talk, he can see, he can hear, but he cannot use his hands. So now he has a Neuralink implant. Neuralink is a company started by Elon Musk, and he can control the computer, so he can play chess or whatever. And this is amazing. He is extremely happy, and this is a good video to watch. Mesa.ai. It's a knowledge processing unit. Again, Mesa claims that the KPU, knowledge processing unit, achieves impressive results. So 96.9% accuracy on zero-shot math problem test, 86% accuracy zero-shot on reading comprehension, and 100% on multi-step arithmetic problems versus only 4% for GPT-4. Yes, GPT-4 and LLMs in general, they're very primitive. They're just predicting the next token. They cannot do logic. They cannot do multi-step things. But if you create a multi-step system to deal with multi-step problems, suddenly you become successful very easily. So that's what's happening right now. OpenAI GPT-5 is expected in June. There was conversation with Sam Altman. There were some leaks. People don't know exactly the dates. Nobody knows, but approximately June we should expect GPT-5, which is supposed to be much better. Okay, AWS Kendra. Kendra is a search engine. It can index your data, your documents, and then you can ask a question and it will reply. Under the hood, I frankly don't know exactly what it is. It may be vector database, although Well, I don't know. But what also it's doing re-ranking. Remember, I spoke about RAG, that inside RAG, after you retrieve data, you need to do re-ranking. They actually do re-ranking under the hood, and they also provide this re-ranking as a separate product. So for example, if you're using OpenSearch to retrieve data, then you can use Kendra re-ranker on top of it to improve your results. So this is typical usage. So you have user, which talks to some interface. In this case, it's Amazon Lex, and then with some Python code, which can communicate with large language model, and you can communicate with the Kendra, which is, well, you can think about it as vector database, although it's better because, well, it's low code, or let's say almost no code. From Python, you can just send it to JSON request and it replies with the JSON, and you're done. Uh, okay, self-reflection. So this is, again, how you make a system which is not one-shot LLM, but more complex and can trace step by step what it is doing and can evaluate different answers and select the best answer before it responds. So this work is coming from Stanford. This is the paper, the video summary, and GitHub. It's open source. It's called Quiet Star. And this is the diagram of how they make a decision and selecting the answer before they actually answering. Okay, there was recently a very good interview of Jan LeCun was interviewed by Lex Friedman on his podcast, and it's a lengthy interview. It's more than 2 hours, and he talks. Well, first of all, he says that LLMs by themselves cannot become a general intelligence. He compares with the physical world, with animals, with how people learn, and he describes architecture which is called joint embedding predictive architecture. And this is one of the projects they do at Facebook, which is Meta. And he proposed it in 2022, and this is the diagram of it. Well, interesting, maybe. I don't know, because there are now so many different architectures, including multi-agent architectures, which seem to solve the problem. Okay, contextual AI. So contextual AI is a startup, and they build custom foundation models, which you can run on premises. So yeah, they're working with businesses, and one of their new project is RAG 2.0. So this is it's not open source, right? But what they say in this publication is that typical RAG is a Frankenstein monster because it's using pieces which are kind of locked down and dead, like a frozen off-the-shelf model for embeddings, a vector database for retrieval, and black box LLM for generation. What they do, they actually train custom model for your particular application, and well, according to them, it improves results. Okay, crowdsource arena leaderboard hasn't changed since last week. It's still March 13. Tech layoffs. So you can compare. This is March last year, 23, and this is March 24. So much less layoffs. Layoffs is blue. You see, like this was January, February, March, and this is this year, January, February, March. Yeah, number of layoffs is much smaller. So salaries of AI engineers were going up. The average salary for senior AI engineer is more than 190,000 according to Comprehensor AI. Okay, this is me. This is thank you.